What happens when a man searching for a wife sends his elder sister to find him the perfect bride, only for his own father to fall in love with that same bride? This is the true life inspired tale of Ugo, a young man abroad whose world is shattered when the woman he hoped to marry is found carrying his father's child. It's a story of betrayal, unexpected love, heartbreak, and powerful forgiveness that shook an entire family to its core. Grab your popcorn because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. Oh yeah, subscribe if you have not subscribed. Oh yeah, let's go there. This is the true story of Ugo, a fine young man who lived in Germany, intelligent, handsome, and hardworking. Ugo had everything going for him except one thing. He needed a wife, but not just any woman. He needed someone raised with home training, someone with values, and a heart as calm as still waters. And so Ugo turned to his most trusted blood, his elder sister, Chinwe, back home in Nigeria. Please find me a good girl, he told her one morning over the phone. Not the flashy type, oh, not someone looking for my passport and my money, just a humble woman I can grow with. Chinwe took the task seriously. She asked around, she watched, she prayed, and after months of careful searching, she found Judith. Judith, a gorgeous young woman who ran a small but thriving catering business in the city. She was not only beautiful, but respectful and hardworking, the kind of woman who still greeted elders on her knees. She had no trace of pride, even though she was self made. When Chinwe introduced Judith to Ugo via video call, he smiled deeply and said, "She's the one," he said without hesitation. Without wasting time, Ugo flew into Nigeria. When he saw Judith in person, his heart skipped. Her skin glowed like the early morning sun. Her smile lighted up the room, and her voice calm, respectful, warm. Within days, he engaged her. The marriage introduction followed soon after, and the two families exchanged pleasantries and gifts. But here's where the story begins to twist. After the introduction, Judith was invited to spend time at Ugo's family home so that she could bond with his people. She agreed. It was the right thing. After all, her marriage would be to the family, not just to Ugo. In the house lived Chief Okoli, Ugo's father, a retired but influential community leader with a regal presence and sharp eyes. Amaka and Ifeoma, his two younger sisters, who were still in university, and Sopruchukwu, the baby of the house, still in the secondary school. Ugo's mother had died years ago, and Chief Okoli never remarried. He had always said no other woman could replace his late wife. But the moment Judith walked into that compound, something strange happened. Chief Okoli couldn't stop looking at her. He stared at her for long moments, eyes soft, lost in thought. Later that evening, he called all his children and said, "Judith, she looks exactly like your late mother when we were young. Her poise, her beauty, her calmness is as if she's returned to us through this girl." Even Chinwe nodded, confirming it was part of why she picked Judith. They all laughed and agreed it must be destiny. Judith felt welcomed and loved, but she didn't know that the storm was already gathering. After a week, Ugo flew back to Germany, but his heart remained with Judith. They called each other morning and night. They shared wedding plans. He promised to return in 3 months for the traditional and white wedding. But as days turned into weeks, something shifted in the Okoli household. Chief Okoli started acting strangely. He would linger too long around Judith in the kitchen. He bought her a new smartphone, saying she needed a better one to keep in touch with Ugo. When Amaka asked, Papa, why are you treating Judith like a queen? He laughed and said, because she deserves it. Judith at first dismissed his kindness as that of a caring father in law, but it didn't stop there. One day, she stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped in her towel, and found Chief Okoli sitting on her bed waiting. Don't be shy, he said to her, his voice low. You look just like my Ada. May her soul rest in peace, he said again. Judith froze, her heart pounded. She quickly stepped back and locked herself in the bathroom, trembling. Something was not right. That night, she texted Ugo, saying, Babe, I am not really comfortable here. Your dad, he's behaving somehow. But Ugo laughed it off and said, Ha ha ha, ha, my father care? Judith, relax. That man has no woman in his life. Maybe he just like your presence. Don't worry, I will be back soon. But Judith's instincts were screaming. And she wasn't wrong because that night Chief Okoli walked to her door at midnight, gently knocked and whispered and said, Judith, Judith, please open. I need to talk to you for something. Please open. She didn't respond. He stood there for minutes, then left. Judith couldn't sleep. She was shaking. She wanted to leave the house, but where would she go? By morning, everything seemed normal. Chief Okoli acted like nothing had happened. He even announced he was buying Judith a car. Judith became confused, torn. She called Chinwe and opened up to her. But Chinwe warned her sternly and said, Listen to me, Judith. Don't say such things about Papa. He is a man of honor. If you bring any scandal to this family, I will personally ask my brother to end everything. Do you hear me? Judy's heart broke. She realized no one would believe her. So she began to keep quiet, waiting for Ugo to return. But little did she know Chief Okoli had other plans, and something was about to happen, something that would shatter everything. Life in Okoli's household took a quite dangerous turn. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Judith, the beautiful bride to be, was adjusting in her new home while her fiancé Ugo planned their wedding from Germany. But behind closed doors, the line between father in law and fiancé had been crossed. Chief Okoli, a man in his early 60s, still carried the aura of wealth, elegance, and charm. He was tall, refined, with salt and pepper hair, and a voice that commanded attention. Since his wife's death, he had buried himself in family and work, never looking at another woman, until Judith walked into his home. He showered her with gifts, clothes, money, even a brand new car and iPhone. He told her stories, long, passionate stories about his late wife, how they met, how they courted, how he loved her like no other. He said, you remind me of her in every way, he whispered. Your smile, your voice, the way you cook egusi soup. It's like Ada has returned to me, he laughed. At first, Judith was flattered. Then she was confused. Then she was entangled. No one knew exactly how it happened. Maybe it was loneliness, maybe manipulation, maybe weakness. But one quiet evening, the line was crossed, and it didn't stop there. Days turned into nights, and the guilt built up in Judith's chest like a mountain. She stopped smiling. She barely ate. She could no longer look at herself in the mirror. She avoided video calls with Ugo until one day she missed her period. She panicked. She bought a test kit, and when she saw the two bold lines, she dropped the test stick and sat on the floor, weeping uncontrollably, saying, "What have I done? What will I tell Ugo? What? Ah!" Before she could decide what to do, Chief Okoli found out. But instead of being angry or shocked, he gently placed his hand on her shoulder and said, "Don't panic, my child. I will take responsibility. I will even tell Ugo myself, and if it comes to it, I will marry you." Judy's breath caught in her throat. "Marry me? But you are his father." Chief Okoli only nodded solemnly and said, "It won't be the first time a man finds love where he least expected. My son will understand. He owes me that much." Judy didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she took a bold step. She visited an elderly woman named Ezinne, a kind hearted widow and one of her oldest catering customers. Ezinne listened quietly as Judith poured out the entire story. From the day she stepped into the Okoli home to the night it all began. When Judith finished, Ezinne sat silently for a long while and said, "My daughter, you need to call Chinwe now. Your sister-in-law. Call her now." Judith hesitated. Chinwe had always acted strict, protective of her family's name. Would she understand? Still, she obeyed. That same day, Chinwe came to Ezinne's compound. She was shocked to see Judith crying with her hands on her chest. Ezinne gently invited her to sit and said, "My daughter," Ezinne began, "before you react, hear everything first." And so Judith told her everything again, but this time Chinwe was there to witness it. Her face went pale, her lips quivered. Then, after a long silence, Chinwe broke down in tears and said, "It's my fault. I should have known. Ha! Ha! What will I tell the world? Ha!" She began to narrate how, on the first day Judith came home, their father couldn't take his eyes off her, how he kept saying over and over that she looked like their late mother, how he stared at her like she was a ghost from the past. "I saw it, but I didn't know it would lead to this. How are we going to do this?" The room fell into silence. Ezine placed her hand gently on Chinwe's shoulder and said, "You must speak to your brother. This cannot remain hidden. You need to tell him." The next morning, Chinwe sat alone in her room, phone in her hand. Heart pounding, she looked at her father's framed photo on the wall and then stared at Ugo's smiling face on her phone screen. She didn't want to destroy their family bond. Their father had sacrificed so much. He raised them single handedly after their mother died, settled Chinwe's marriage rights, sent Ugo abroad, sponsored everyone's education. But she couldn't hide the truth any longer. She dialed the number and said, "Hello, Ugo." Ugo's voice came through, warm as ever, and he said, "Ah, Sister Chichi, how far? Hope say Judith never tire for na wahala." But Chinwe couldn't laugh. Her voice trembled, and she said, "Ugo, I need to tell you something, and please try not to scream." She began to narrate the events slowly, carefully. She told him about Judy's pregnancy, about Papa, about the night visits and whispers, and everything in between. And when she was done, there was silence. She waited for him to explode, but instead, Ugo sighed. Then he said the most shocking thing she had ever heard. He said, "I already know, Sister Chinwe. Papa told me everything. I already know." Chinwe gasped. He told you?" "Yes. 2 days ago, he called me and confessed. Said he didn't meant for it to happen. Said he was sorry. I won't lie you. I cried, oh, but I have forgiven him. What will I do? I can't hold grudges against him," he said. "You what?" Chinwe said. And Ugo responded and said, "Sister Chinwe, that man has done everything for us. I wouldn't even be in Germany if not for him. If he says he wants to marry her, I won't stop him. Let him marry her now. Chinwe was speechless. Her mouth hung open. Just find me another wife, Ugo continued. But please, make sure she doesn't look like Mama again. Please, I don't want another Wahala. Please. Watch out for part 2 to see what happened after Chinwe ended the call. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Share to your family and friends. Okay?